The bruise on my left cheekbone had turned a deep purple by the time I stumbled into the kitchen that morning, my 6-year-old daughter Emma still asleep in her room. I caught my reflection in the microwave door and winced, not from the pain, but from the shame of it all. How had I let things get this bad? Standing there in my wrinkled shirt from yesterday, I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd actually cooked breakfast instead of throwing a granola bar at Emma as we rushed out the door. I was drowning, and I'd been too proud to admit it. The day before had been a disaster of epic proportions. I'd forgotten it was early dismissal at Emma's school, so she'd waited on the steps for 45 minutes while I frantically drove across town in rush hour traffic. When I finally arrived, her teacher Mrs. Patterson gave me that look, the one that said she was one more incident away from calling social services. Then Emma's homework folder revealed a note about the class party I'd completely forgotten, the one where I was supposed to bring cupcakes. Strike two. But the real catastrophe happened at home. While trying to assemble the bookshelf I'd bought 3 months ago, I'd balanced it incorrectly. The whole thing came crashing down, and I'd instinctively reached out to stop it. The corner caught my face, and I went down hard, my head cracking against the hardwood floor. Emma had screamed, genuinely terrified, thinking I was dead. I'd pulled myself together, forced a smile through the throbbing pain, and told her Daddy was fine. Just clumsy, sweetheart. Just clumsy. That night, after I'd tucked Emma in for the 3rd time, she kept coming out to check if I was still breathing. I'd sat on the couch and done something I hadn't done since my wife Sarah died 2 years ago. I cried. Not the silent, dignified tears I'd shed at her funeral, but ugly, gasping sobs that made my bruised face hurt even more. Sarah would have known what to do. She would have had the cupcakes baked, the bookshelf assembled, and Emma's hair brushed into something that didn't look like a bird's nest. She would have made it look easy, made me look competent. Without her, I was just a man pretending to be both parents and failing spectacularly at both roles. The next morning, I managed to get Emma fed, dressed, and to school on time, a minor miracle. Then I headed to work, my attempted cover-up job with concealer making the bruise look worse, not better. I worked as a financial analyst at Morrison & Associates, a mid-sized firm where I'd been employed for 8 years. My boss, Rebecca Morrison, was the founder's daughter and had a reputation for being ice-cold. She was brilliant, demanding, and completely intimidating. In 3 years of working directly under her, we'd never had a conversation that wasn't about quarterly reports or client portfolios. I tried to slip into my cubicle unnoticed, but apparently, a grown man with a black eye doesn't blend in at a corporate office. "Whoa, what happened to you?" my colleague Derek asked loudly enough for half the floor to hear. "Just an accident at home," I mumbled, powering up my computer and hoping everyone would lose interest. They didn't. Within an hour, I'd had to explain the bookshelf incident to at least 6 people. Each retelling made me feel smaller, more incompetent. By the time Rebecca's assistant informed me that Ms. Morrison wanted to see me in her office, I was convinced I was going to be fired for being an unprofessional disaster. I knocked on her door with my heart hammering. "Come in, Michael," her voice called out, crisp and professional as always. Rebecca Morrison was in her early 40s, impeccably dressed in a navy suit, her dark hair pulled back in a perfect bun. She gestured to the chair across from her massive desk. I sat, prepared for the worst. "I heard about your injury," she said, her eyes fixed on my face with an expression I couldn't read. "Are you all right?" "Yes, ma'am. Just a stupid accident. It won't affect my work." She was quiet for a long moment, studying me in a way that made me deeply uncomfortable. Then she said something that floored me. "How is Emma doing?" I blinked. I didn't even know Rebecca knew I had a daughter, let alone her name. She's fine. Thank you for asking." Rebecca nodded slowly. "You've been with this company for 8 years, Michael. Your work has always been excellent. But lately, I've noticed you've seemed stretched thin." My throat tightened. Was this the part where she told me I wasn't pulling my weight anymore? "I'm managing," I said, though we both knew it was a lie. "You don't have to manage alone," she said quietly. Then she dismissed me, and I left her office more confused than when I'd entered. That evening was another chaotic rush, picking up Emma, discovering she needed a poster board for a project due tomorrow, stopping at the store where Emma had a meltdown because I bought the wrong markers, burning dinner, and finally collapsing into bed at 11 o'clock with the poster only half finished. The next morning, I woke to Emma shaking my shoulder. "Daddy, there's someone at the door." I stumbled out of bed, checking my phone. It was 6:30 in the morning. Who the hell would be at my door at this hour? I opened it to find Rebecca Morrison standing on my doorstep, completely out of context in jeans and a sweater, holding 2 large grocery bags. "Ms. Morrison, what are you?" "It's Rebecca," she said, walking past me into my house. "And I'm here to make breakfast." When's the last time Emma had a real meal before school? I stood there, speechless, as my boss moved through my kitchen like she owned it, unpacking eggs, bacon, fresh fruit, pancake mix, and orange juice. "You don't have to," I started. "I know I don't have to," she said, already pulling out a pan. "Sit down, Michael. Let someone help you for once." Emma appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. "Who are you?" "I'm Rebecca. I work with your dad. Do you like chocolate chip pancakes?" Emma's face lit up. "Yes." For the next 45 minutes, I watched in amazement as Rebecca cooked a breakfast that would have taken me all morning, chatted easily with Emma about her favorite subjects at school, and even braided my daughter's hair into something that actually looked intentional. The smell of bacon and fresh coffee filled the house, and for the first time in 2 years, it felt like a home instead of just a place where Emma and I survived. When Emma went to brush her teeth, I finally found my voice. "Why are you doing this?" Rebecca set down the spatula and turned to face me. Her eyes, usually so guarded at work, were soft. "Because I know what it's like," she said quietly. "I was raised by a single father after my mother left. I watched him struggle every single day, too proud to ask for help, too exhausted to accept it when it was offered. He died of a heart attack when he was 52, completely burned out." She paused. "I saw myself in him when I looked at you yesterday. That same desperate determination to do everything alone. That same fear of being judged as inadequate." Tears sprang to my eyes. "I don't know what I'm doing. Sarah made it all look so easy, and I'm just failing." "You're not failing. You're overwhelmed. There's a difference." Rebecca handed me a cup of coffee. "You're a good father, Michael. Emma is happy, healthy, and clearly loved. But you can't pour from an empty cup." "I don't have anyone else," I admitted. "Sarah's parents moved to Arizona, my parents are gone, and I." "You have people," Rebecca interrupted. "You just haven't asked. I'm here now. And I'll keep coming if you'll let me." I stared at this woman who I'd thought was made of ice and ambition, and saw something I'd never expected: genuine human compassion. Over the following weeks, Rebecca became an unexpected constant in our lives. She showed up every Thursday morning to make breakfast, giving me one day a week where I didn't have to rush. She brought her own daughter, a teenager named Sophie, to babysit Emma when I had late meetings. She connected me with her housekeeper who taught me actual cooking basics, and with a grief counselor who helped me process everything I'd been bottling up. But more than the practical help, Rebecca gave me something I'd lost when Sarah died: hope. Hope that I could do this. Hope that accepting help wasn't weakness. Hope that there were still good people in the world who showed up, not because they had to, but because they understood what it meant to struggle. 6 months later, standing in Emma's school auditorium watching her receive an award for her science project, I felt Rebecca's presence beside me. She'd helped Emma with the research, spending hours explaining photosynthesis in ways my daughter could understand. "Thank you," I whispered. "For everything." Rebecca smiled. "That's what family does." And I realized that family wasn't just blood. It was the people who showed up on your doorstep at 6:30 in the morning because they saw you were drowning and threw you a lifeline. Sometimes angels don't have wings. Sometimes they just have grocery bags and the wisdom to know that the strongest thing you can do is let yourself be helped.